Welcome to Rise and Shine. I am Vuyanzi. The book of Zechariah says, do not despise small beginnings. Can you guess what we're talking about today? We're talking about mastering your money. And for some of you, you're saying, well, that's not a lot. So make sure, first of all, that you join the conversation across our social medias. We want to hear what you think. What is resonating with you in the conversation? And join our conversation also by text as well. We have two experts to talk to us about mastering our money. Now, first, Ruth, I want to start with you because you and I met on a platform. And one thing that I admired was you took something that seemed so complicated and you broke it down so simple for us. Now, that's why I know you're sitting there. But I'm going to ask you, tell our audience today why they should be listening to you when you start to speak to us about mastering our money.
Thank you so much. Vuyanzi, money is our everyday life, and it should be treated so. And because the bottom line of you and I and any other person is money and how much you make, then why don't we make that topic so important to our every minute? That is why everyone should be listening to me, because at the end of the day, the bottom line is money.
Oh. Yes. We will be listening to you and our other guests today. Lillian, I know that you've done some investments to the tune of over $200 million across multiple countries. I know that you should be sitting here today, but why should our audience be listening to you today as our guest?
I think the conversation about money should never be parked at any one point in time. I say this because I have been in the financial space for over 15 years and have seen what the knowledge of money, the transformation it brings. And I think given an opportunity, we need to be able to share this knowledge across with everybody, every demographic, to help them appreciate either how they can make money, how they can earn and save, how they can spend, how they can plan for that money, and mostly for future. So I'm here to just bring out the knowledge that I have around money and investments to benefit our audience today. Yes.
Okay, I'm excited. Money is one of my favorite topics. So let's first start off with financial literacy. I mean, I hear that word all the time, but we're going to build a foundation from here. What exactly does it mean to be financially literate? Ruth, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you very much. Financial literacy is first knowing where you're coming from as far as what you're doing, where you are right now, and where you want to go. And that goes into what you're currently doing. Even the Bible says that you've got to find something to do, and you do that with a lot of diligence, because it is out of the diligence of what you do every day, then money conversations come on board. Why do I say that, Vuyanzi, and I look at that from not only our country, but across the board? First, because, say, in Kenya, Mama Mboga, who is selling her goods, still expect a coin and a profit for that matter. So you can tell that she's able to make or to do her simple calculations and know how much she used to buy her stock, how much she's sold, and the profit she's made. And that profit is what goes down to how she's able to, the current life she's able to offer herself and maybe her family, in terms of paying her bills. How simple is that? Then on the flip side, there is me and you who are professionals, and maybe somebody like me who has been in the financial space for many years. Actually, it's going almost to 20 years. And how we look at that, then we look at it maybe from a corporate perspective. Are they still using the same rationale as the Mama Mboga? Yes.
Wow.
Then where is the me and you, or just the common Kenyan, or any other person missing out when it comes to money? Good question. It goes now back to something called strategizing, because financial literacy is about being aware of what you're doing.
Wow. Okay. So I want to make sure I'm hearing you right. You're telling me from the woman selling fruit on the corner to the woman sitting in the highest corporate office that this financial literacy is not just for one or the other, but it's for everyone. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Now, and Lillian, I'm going to come to you in a second, but you said some things too in terms of financial literacy, but maybe we need to table this because right now I'm thinking for the woman selling fruit on the corner, her ends may not be meeting. You know, as much as we want to say, but I know we're talking, okay, so before I get ahead of myself, we're going to talk about when ends don't meet. Lillian, to you, how is your interpretation of financial literacy?
I'll tell you what, I totally agree with what Ruth has said. And from where I sit, financial literacy is really the conversation around the knowledge of money. How do you earn your money? How do you spend your money? How do you protect your money? Right? And it cuts across from people earning millions to the one selling fruits at the corner. Because you're very aware of people that are over leveraged. They borrow too much money and they're earning, but they borrow too much money and end up in financial doldrums. Despite having that ability to access the debt, they're still not able to manage their finances very well. And then when you go down to the bottom of the economic, the person earning the little money, you'll be surprised at how those that have appreciated the conversation around financial literacy, they're actually able to take that little money and grow it and grow their businesses and raise very steady families. And in fact, you will realize that there are some of these people that have built empires starting from very small beginnings. And that's really financial literacy. It cuts across. It cuts across everybody. Yeah, so ability to understand the mechanics of money, it's not how much money you make, it's what do you do with it.
Okay, now, Ruth pried the door open, you just kicked it wide open. You said it's not about how much you make, and that brings us right to budgeting. There are some people who are going to be giving me the side eye today. They're like, really, you want to talk about financial literacy? I'm not even making enough. I'm living on the little intermittent loans in between. Budgeting. Let's start off with budgeting, because if I'm not making enough money, maybe I should ask first. Now, we said financial literacy, but what is budgeting? Because what's budgeting?
Thank you. Budgeting is a part of financial literacy. And as I said earlier, financial literacy is first being aware. It is the intentionality of yourself, not even anyone else, to be able to plan your finances. And before even I jump into budgeting, I can tell you in this country, Vuyanzi, there are people who have started with 2,500 shillings to start a business. 20 years later, they are multi-millionaire. I'm in this space and I've seen many, many family businesses that have started from nothing to something. So the intentionality is how careful you are in dealing with money. And now it jumps into budgeting. Budgeting is you being aware of how much am I earning? You know, sometimes we want to close eyes and we do not want to come to the reality of how much I'm earning. You say, I'm earning this much, but I must get an apartment in Riverside. Even if you know the apartment is almost equal to the whatever you're earning. So budgeting is being aware that I'm earning this much and I need my expenditures to be within this much so that I can be left with surplus for saving another eventuality, and I can live within my means. It is budgeting is being comfortable, like being comfortable in your skin, not living beyond your mean, not admiring other people, but accepting that I'm in this situation, but I'm budgeting and planning for it because I'm not going to be here forever. I'm going to plan a way forward. And actually budgeting, it is the basis of planning now and it's a basis of foresight. It is a basis of the future. And I'll give you an example. Corporates every year, they go for a getaway for their budgeting and planning. And in that meeting, they find out how much did we overspend in an area we were not supposed to do, and why? And how can we improve that? And they plan. So why is you as an individual, you go to work every day, or you're looking for work, and you have not started with the right step? Because we cannot put a cart before a horse.
Wow. So I'm hearing something I had never heard with budgeting before. Intention. Because we'll say plan, 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 but the intention. So that's like the thought behind it. And you're telling me that the strategy I used to use back in the day with writing checks, closing my eyes, and hoping that it would, you're saying that that strategy is not good anymore. Okay, fine. Okay, budgeting.
If you're to live within your means, you need to first, on a piece of paper, nothing too technical, though there are apps for that nowadays. Life has been simplified for us. You need to start by appreciating, what are my constant expenses? I've got rent, I've got school fees, I've got commute, I've got all of those expenses. I still have goals and ambitions. I need to own a house. I need to have X amount coming into being available for me when I'm retiring. So for that, I need to have X amount going into some form of investment, bonds, or in a money market fund, some form of investment. So how would you do that if you do not have an appreciation of what your costs and your revenue is? Because using a budget, then you would also be able to know, yes, I can work with what I have right now, but also if I'm to get where I want to go, own a house in Kilimani, for example, I need to work a little harder. I need to increase my revenue. But that said, the budgeting helps you today to live within your means, because if you get into too much debt, then you wouldn't be able to get anywhere. You'll be stuck in the mud.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. Live within your means. Huh. What does that mean when some of us are not bringing the means together? Some of us have more month than money. Right? The money runs out and the month is still going. Ladies, help us for those people who say, I don't even make enough. You're telling me to plan. You're telling me to strategize. You talked about revenue. I don't even have enough. Let's start talking to those people about the reality of what it is they can do in their circumstances.
Thank you, Vuyanzi. So one, you cannot run a company on a loss. It's going to catch up with you. So even your life, you can't run on a deficit. And what brings us here a lot of times is issues that we deal with in life. And I'm going to tell you, one of the things that will make people live without their means or beyond their means is first comparison. I want to live like Lillian. When you go to workplaces, there is a lot of diverse people that come to work. Some live in their mother's house. Some live in their own houses. Then you are there coming from a rental house and you want to compare yourself with somebody who comes from their mom's house. Wow. So first, the most important thing for you to live within your means is to accept yourself. And most of the time we want so much. I think sometimes it goes to the root cause of even upbringing and how you were brought up. And the issues you're dealing with, your self-esteem, the deeper things of life. And those things want you to come and justify yourself in the small thing that you're doing. And they overtake your mind in terms, and actually they even influence your spend. And how you spend your money, because if you're looking, say, for acceptance, you will spend that money with friends and people out there wanting to be accepted at the expense of you being intentional with your life. And there are many things. Actually, one of the things that has come up in the recent past a lot, especially including the current Gen Z, is the issue of mental health, which is really, it has not really been, it's so high, you won't even believe. And those things, the baggage that we come with in life, affect how we live and affect the decisions, the money decisions that we have. They influence so much in terms of the mistakes we make when it comes to money. So when it comes to the area of first wanting to live within your means, understand yourself. Accept where you are. Accepting yourself is the best thing to start making things right. And one of the things in this country I've also seen, people don't like starting small. We want to start all up there. But sometimes starting up there, they make us take loans. They make us borrow. Some borrowings that sometimes we spend paying that money for a very long time. And maybe those ventures fail. So we have to be at a point of acceptance. Money has to accept you if you accept yourself. Oof. If you don't accept yourself, money will never stop you will never save. It will be coming and flying. It will be out of your hands. So it has to be, money is an issue of being self-aware.
Sounds like coaching to me.
And actually, one of the things that I can say, and it's a Kenyan slang, yeah? They normally say, wacha pesa ikukubali. Let money accept you. But money cannot accept you if you have not accepted yourself.
Oof. That's a money coach right there. That's a money coach. People need to be writing this stuff down. Lillian, what are you adding to this? Wow.
People need to understand how money works. Really. It doesn't fall from trees. And the knowledge of how money works is really, again, financial literacy. Let me expound on that. If you have more month than money, there exactly is the problem. If you do not have a listing of your expenses, there exactly is the problem. Why? When you're having more month than money, it means that you're actually having more expenses, definitely, than your income. And so when you're a practical person, you look in there and you're like, what can I adjust? You move to a cheaper house. You could actually move your children to cheaper schools. You could stop supporting all your relatives if you're not able to.
Oh, say that again,
Yes,
Lillian.
yes. I mean, because how are you going to live? Right? So it's about, because if you're living, it means you're not saving anything. And some of the basic rules of financial literacy is you must save first and then spend the balance. Right? So that one of having more month than money is where I would like to dwell on and tell people that kindly you need to appreciate that that's not something to be proud of. It's not something to go shouting about. What you need to do is look at your realities today and start to adjust around that. And the world around you will adjust. You move to a cheaper house, you look at your expenses, you lower them. If you're partying every weekend, please stop doing that. If you must entertain, bring them to your house probably. It will save you money, right? If you're a person who spends in your household, let's say 50% of the money that you're bringing in because you eat meat every day, you cut down. You have to go granular in where is my money going. And you can only do that when you understand how money works. Then again, if you're having the kind of situation that you're mentioning, it means that you're going to get stuck for a very, very long time. So my emphasis would be is you take your time, you understand where am I bleeding my revenues, right? Where am I bleeding because you have to have an emergency kitty at any one time in your life. Where am I bleeding my money? And then you make the necessary adjustments so that you can be able to move from month to month and grow yourself. You must be willing to suffer now for greater good in future.
We don't like suffering,
but
I know the Bible says long suffering.
We have to. And I am speaking this especially for families, when they're children. I have children and I know what it means to have dependents and then you're exposed. Because it means that should something happen, you're not able to quickly turn around and solve this little situation because you're financially strained. And you can't be this is the kind of person who'd probably be going back to their friends every time and borrowing money. People get tired. So you need to be able to cushion yourself around yourself before you can take care of the people around you, which is what I find being the problem because these people, not only are they part of the living beyond their means, is they're taking care of everybody around them.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. So what I'm hearing, Ruth, what I'm hearing from you is the inside. And Lillian, what I'm hearing from you is outside. So there's a two-part component to this thing when we're talking about budgeting. And You brought up something. You like kicking doors. I noticed that, Lillian. I love it because you talked also about supporting relatives, right? And so we know that for many, this is a cultural norm. How do we, and also you spoke about the psychology. So let's think about and look at culture and the thoughts around money that I have to take my last dime or, sorry, shilling, shilling and send it to upcountry, to send it to my relatives wherever they may be. But how do we begin to shift our mindset around supporting the ones we love, and somehow growing our own money? But then there's the culture, and that's our parents' expectation. How do we begin to shift it?
Thank you so much. So first thing, I think we have a mindset of help and being helped. And you will see that parents in the village will expect as the firstborn, then you'll help educating the other children.
Wow.
Relatives in the, not even in the village, anywhere, they'll get children with an expectation that you, as the best, as the one doing well, that you're going to help them or you're going to take responsibility. I think since time immemorial, we haven't fully come out of the communal mindset. And actually you'll see even relatives, even not only in the village, but anywhere, they will not like you because you are not helping them. Ooh. And it becomes actually it becomes a big social setting problem. It becomes even an issue of antagonizing that we cannot even operate properly or fully because you did not help my son, you never helped the son of a neighbor or the daughter of a neighbor. And sometimes that is all done stereotypically without even considering what you're doing or the opportunities available to you. But can we be able to change that? Yes. One of the things that the culture has not allowed is the issue of saying no.
Say that again. Say what word? Saying what word?
Saying no or pushing back. People can't take that. The society cannot take no. But we've got to set boundaries even if we have to operate optimally. You will not be able to operate optimally with the wrong people around you, with the people influencing your mental issues. You have to reach to a point and say, this is where I draw the line. And you draw the line there, of course, but I'm not saying that giving is a problem. Giving is biblical. For God so loved the world that he gave. Give until to a point that you're not giving to please people, but you're giving because you have that heart to give. Giving back is one of the best things that you can ever do. However, it should not, even the Bible says, not through coercion. Yeah. Wow. God loves a cheerful giver. Give because you have that ability. Give back because you have that ability. But the most important thing, sometimes we give, we even want to pour out of an empty cup, and it becomes destructive to yourself, and you cannot have that ability to earn. You have to protect the ability to earn, that I can go to work with the right mindset, do my business, and still get my profit at the end of the day. Wow. That should be protected at all costs. Because when you are at a safe place, then you are able to be more productive. Secondly, is also letting people to understand, I am in the finance space. Somebody who is in psychology or lawyer or nurse has to understand that I cannot be able to find opportunities in that space. But if you're in my space, I will direct you as much as possible.
Wow. I'm going to just leave it right there for a moment. We have to go to a break. I hope that you have your notebooks out, and I hope that you are joining the conversation. Lillian, on the other side of this, I want you to still speak about the culture and the psychology of money. But in the meantime, join the conversation across social media, and we will catch you on the other side.
We are living in a lost and broken world, constantly bombarded by messages of hate and atrocities. But with God, we can overcome. Find hope and restoration on the go through life-changing shows on the Family Media app.
And then you will lose yourself and gain the world. And Jesus said, what good is it?
Get to stream Family TV and Family Radio straight from your phone. Catch up on a show you missed or create video streaming playlists by saving and watching videos from our huge variety of shows at your own convenience. Download the Family Media app, available for all Android and iOS users on the Google Play Store and Apple Store respectively. Family Media, keeping Jesus on the airwaves.
Welcome back. This is Rise and Shine. I am Vuyanzi. Just a reminder, we're here with our financial experts today. We are talking about mastering your money, and we're here with Ruth and Lillian. And on the other side of the break, we were talking about culture, the psychology of money, and how is it that, you make ends meet, but you're still expected to be supporting in all the relatives of country and everyone. Please, Lillian, help us continue in this conversation.
Africans and our social setups are very different from, for example, the West. We are very communal, and we are very, like, for example, my nieces could easily be my children, right? My uncle is my father. So when he comes to me, I'm supposed to help him. There's actually no distinction, right? And it goes back, and these are not things we are going to be able to change in our lifetime. So we must accept and live with them. However, we've become more knowledgeable now. We've got a lot more information that there was in the past. And what I like to say when it comes to supporting relatives, I always like to say, wear your life jacket first. You must wear your life jacket first.
Wow.
Because without you being okay, you cannot support somebody else. And then the other approach I like to take, I say, in the process of supporting, you feel obliged probably because your circumstances are such that you were educated at the expense of everybody else. And so you're seeing them suffering, and you feel you really must, because they made a sacrifice. They sold everything they had so that you can go to school. And so therefore you need to create that base for them. So I also like to say that whatever it is that we do, we need to teach our dependents how to fish, as opposed to fishing for them. Because when you fish for them, there's absolutely no multiplier effect. It is purely for consumption, and,
wow.
and you create a dependency. And what you realize is that the people that depend on you always, sometimes, in fact, a lot of times, end up being constant dependents. And if you're older, you will never take off because you've had too many dependents behind you, and you have not developed the muscle to say no because you feel guilty. So what I do personally, I use the knowledge that I have and cascade it down to as many people as possible. This is including setting up kiosks for the people that I think need help.
Wow.
With, instead of me giving you 3,000 to go and eat today, I tell you you're going to start with tomatoes and all of that, instead of creating a dependency. And I'll even teach you how to calculate your revenue for today. If I bought tomatoes for 500, at least let me make 550. That way, then you stop creating a dependency syndrome. And then the other thing I like to say is pull the rest of the people that are capable into this net of helping, so that you're not the only one. But then again, you must limit how much you're giving out, because you could end up drowning. Yes, please put on your life jacket first. Only help when you're able, and to the maximum that you can, because you see, you need to grow. You need to probably have a family. You need to grow your family. Otherwise, then you create this cycle of, then my children will also need to be educated by the people I'm going. It's a social contract, but there's no obligation to execute it. So at the point we are at now, we need to actually start having conversations about how are we educating the people who depend on us to actually become self-independent. It is the little things. Give them a cow. Let them sell milk. Yes. Lease for them land. Let them grow produce. Get them a kiosk. Let them start with little vegetables. Don't create dependency. Help where you can, but not at the expense of your personal livelihood. I'm not saying be selfish, but please do it within a certain matrix.
Wow, gems are being dropped here. Now, we've talked about kind of like the problem, right? We've talked about financial literacy, budgeting, shifting the culture, if you will. And we know it takes time. But now let's talk about growing this money. And, and we'll keep it basic today, but how can people use their money to grow more money? Now, I'm going to start off first with something that you had brought up before. You talked about God loves a what kind of giver? Cheerful giver. Now, we know that the Bible is like an upside down kingdom. You give away in order to grow. And also, I think it was King Solomon who said that God gives us the power to get wealth. So there's power in there, but there's giving in there. Let's start with giving. How essential is giving to growing? I want to say this because you laid this foundation and people are saying, okay, fine, Sawa. Okay, I can start to save kidogo here, kidogo there, a little bit here, a little bit there. However, now I'm going to go to church on Sunday and the pastor is going to guilt me into giving 10% of, no. So please, what about this giving to grow?
Thank you so much. I'm going to contextualize it differently.
Okay.
First, you cannot give what you do not have. And giving actually is out of what maybe has been left out after you've done everything else. So if you're overspending, you do not have anything to give. But remember, for somebody, I want to say there are many concepts out there, but for me, is I have something. I've got to have something to give, whether to the poor, to the widows, whether to support the church, whatever, and even tithing, because I believe in that. Mm-hmm. And it all boils down to how I was brought up. So as much as many other concepts are coming that this is not necessary, but for me, whatever is left for saving is also whatever is left for me to donate and give out. Why? We have a culture of being very selfish, and sometimes we even bring our children up very selfish, that they cannot even give their snack. It starts there. To your kindergarten child being able to share the small thing. And our social setting, especially if we look at maybe say, not even Nairobi, you will find that you sometimes don't even know your next door neighbor, because whatever you are earning, you feel so constrained to your family. But that is not the concept of God. God wants your child to be well, but God also wants you to remember those that are less fortunate. So giving is a principle that when you give, you believe that it shall be given back to you. And once you are able to give, even investments become easy. You can easily take that money and invest. You can, money starts trusting you. It's a relationship. Then we take it that way.
Wow.
When you trust money, that money can be in your hands and you can be able to do constructive things with money, then you can be able to save. You can be able to buy a property. You can be able to build. The project can wait a bit for you to give to an orphanage or an orphan. You can still buy groceries and take to a less fortunate family. You can still buy something and take to your village. It is the concept of we go now beyond, this I call it beyond financial literacy, because financial literacy is where you are able to earn and still spend at a comfortable range. But now the bottom line, where it's your saving, the pool of money you are left with after all that, is now another concept altogether. It has to be protected. And apparently, relationship with money when it comes to God's kingdom, it's also a trust relationship with God.
Wow. It's a what?
A trust relationship. That once you start, then there's something in finance called wealth maximization.
Wealth what?
maximization, then that little starts to grow. And God is a God of time. Money takes time. You have got to be patient for it to grow. And it doesn't seem like it's growing when you start. But you'll not be able to do all this when you are not self-aware. You have to know that intention of taking care of the savings and actually the Bible says being a good steward. And you being a good steward. And in the book of Matthew 24, I think it gives the parable of the one who was servants who were given some money. One was given 5 talents, another one was given 2, and another was given 1. But if you look at the 3, the one who was given least had the worst attitude. That this boss think I'm going to be left here investing his money. He's wicked. But the rest who are given more went invested and they brought back something. Whatever God trusts you in, whether it's 5 talents of gold or 2 or 1, there is an expectation that you can grow, and there is a capability that you can grow.
Okay, expectation, capability. Ooh, you preaching over there. Lillian, giving to grow? Huh?
You do. You must give to grow. However, you need to appreciate how that comes about. When it comes to tithing, for example, I go back to the budget. You have had and read and seen incidences where people go and give their entire wealth to the church and the children sleep hungry. God is not happy. God is not happy with such a giver. Why? Because that's not what he expects of you. However, I'd like to say that giving is a very, very personal relationship. It's a very personal, you have to believe in the cause that you're supporting.
Wow.
Right? Because you know what happens when you give. And also the appreciation that it all comes from God and back to him it shall. So I believe that we actually do need to give. However, I refer back to the budget, which I said is the backbone of what we do with our money. When you're planning, put sections of how much can I give and still survive.
Wait, so I'm hearing you say that in the budget, we should plan our giving even to the church, tithing and so forth?
We must plan. Everything you do with your money I should show you our budget. My family does an annual budget. We do an annual budget and we amend it depending on whether there's an expense that was not anticipated, whether there's revenue that has come in, which was a windfall or something like that. Whatever you do with your money must come from somewhere, because then how are you doing this? I'm not able to appreciate, because you don't just wake up and say, okay, I earned 100,000 today and you're building church, so I need to give 50,000. You don't have it. You can borrow, and of course, and that's totally acceptable. But if it's something sustainable that you plan to do, kindly put it in your budget. Put every expense possible in your budget. Anticipate it, plan for it.
Okay, I'm receiving these gems, and so planning, self-awareness, giving is a key component here, and budgeting for the giving. Okay, so now here's my few shillings here. Can we talk about some basic ways people can start to grow the little bit of money that they have? I mean, you both said earlier, like, people want to start up here. You especially said we can't look to the left or to the right. Okay, tell me what to do with these shillings that I have in my hand now to start growing it.
Thank you so much. I like that because it's more about something called implementation. Because having the money and growing it is something called implementation. And that is where rubber meets the road. Why? Because there are many people who will say many things that they want to do, but they are not able to do. Why? Because growing money is commitment. And I told told you that it's like a relationship. You have to be committed to your money. You have to be in a relationship with it. And commit that whatever you had planned to do is what you're going to do. If you had, yes, please.
Yeah, you've said this relationship with money, and I want to make sure people are getting it.
Yes.
Because I've said something like this in my coaching. People are like, but it's not a person. How do you have a relationship with it? So I know we're talking about growing, but you're saying that it has to be a good relationship. Please explain. What do you mean?
It has to be a commitment that whatever I said I'll do with the leftover money, I'll do with it. Whatever investment opportunity I committed to do, you do exactly that. Why do I say that? Because many people will say something and they will end up not doing it. We all know that. Many people will have the money and say, this money I had to buy land. But last minute somebody came and told me to do something and that never happened.
Oh.
And that brings not only slow economic growth in the country, but it brings delay in you as a person and even in your destiny. It's that deep.
Whoa. Let's bump the brakes a quick second. Because I'm trying to get to the point, but you're saying some deep things and I want people to understand. I'm hearing you say it's not about just us. That growing money has much farther ripple effects than just me and maybe my little circle, my family. So I'm sorry, continue. I just want to make sure people
It goes beyond, because the money that you're entrusted with, God also is entrusting that money to many people. For example, if God wants you to use that money and start a business, and that business can anchor many people from an employment perspective, you are delaying the destiny of other people by not investing that money, by lack of commitment to the things that you've said. And also God is a God of seasons. Maybe this season is when he has entrusted for your business to grow, for your customer base to grow. Maybe this is a season based on how, when you do not do that, and kingdom stuff require haste, when you don't do that at the right time, maybe by the time you are starting at a delayed time, maybe the many customers who are there before, or the investment opportunity, say for example, you're doing T-bills, or you are buying land to build apartments, or you're building apartments, or whatever you're doing to invest. For a kingdom person, it has to have, time is of essence. And from an economic perspective, time is a resource. It's the biggest resource. Then it's so deep, because how do you balance the different kind of resource? Because if you are entrusted to, say, start a business, grow that money for yourself and for the kingdom, but still grow other people's destiny, you're not only improving the livelihood of this country, you are tapping into the end time plans of God, because that money will still give back to the kingdom. It is so interconnected to how we think that sometimes by the time we are thinking, we think that we are living our lives for ourselves. But it is how many people we can be able to uplift. And by uplifting many people, the little money you have will not only uplift many people, but uplift a nation.
I'm hearing to whom much is given, much is required. Lillian, I have these few shillings. Help me.
I'm just going to belabor what Truth has said about healthy and unhealthy relationships with money. Simply put, healthy relationships require discipline. Ooh. And this discipline is a muscle that you develop over time. And healthy relationship with money is what people like to say, oh, I don't sleep in the same house with money. I've got money in the bank, I've got to spend it. They're walking around, they see beautiful earrings, they buy. They're walking around, they see a beautiful shoe, they buy. I like to use this example that if you spend your money on things that you want, you're going to borrow for the things that you need. You're going to borrow for if you spend your money on the things that you want, you're going to borrow for the things that you need. Ooh. So the unhealthy relationship, you have to be aware the kind of person you are with money and start to develop the muscle, the discipline for a healthy relationship with money. And investment is my forte, so I could go on about this forever. But the way I like to speak with people is it's not how much, it's what options are available for you right now, and what's your long-term goal, what's your short-term goal. You're probably your wife is pregnant, so your immediate short-term goal is to be able to pay for medical at those 9 months without needing to borrow. When you calculate back, how much do I need to save, or what do I need to do for me to have achieved this money for that delivery to happen safely in the place I want it to happen. And then you start to think, okay, from the very basic things of, as I said, you can invest in somebody's small business. I even know people that lend other people money for a return. I know people that run many side hustles, whether it's a shoe shop, they run a clothes shop. But I think that speaks to a very complicated demographic. I think for me, it's the understanding that today I have X amount, I need to grow it by a certain percent over a certain, and you start to think what options exist for me. Right? There is all of these options. Start to think about when you have stock in your granary, that's money. If I need to grow that shilling, because that's sort of money, it's equivalent, it's value. I keep it in the granary until it's people have disposed of all their too much harvest, then I'll sell at a profit. It is the simple knowledge beyond going what we are talking about, treasury bills, treasury bonds, talking about private equity investment, talking about money market funds. No. And you can, it's even if you're banked. Banks have actually hacked the mind of some of these people, and they're willing to sit with you and tell you, okay, so you have 100,000 coming into your bank every month. I'm going to help you. Give me instructions. I'm going to be quickly removing 20,000 into a fixed deposit account that you cannot access. Banks have figured that. So all of those, and it will be earning a little interest. So it's up to you to figure out what are my short-term goals, what are my long-term goals. Based on that, then you can structure your growth for the shilling. If it's school fees I need, I'm not going to be selling my stock now. Why? Because I need to pay fees in January. So I need to sell around December. You see what I'm saying? It's about planning. It's about financial planning. It's about what do I have? What is my wealth? Because it's not necessarily in monetary cash. It's what do I have that's of value and easily convertible into money.
My head is beautifully spinning right now to understand this. So let's stay right here, because let's start talking some practical points, because you've said some things, and maybe what stopped people is because they're like, I don't know about the stocks. I don't know all these complicated things, but you just said something very simple. So ladies, I want to transition into some very practical, hands-on things that people can do to start growing their money today. So Lillian, why don't you start us off with that?
So we're speaking to a very diverse demographic of people, but if I'm telling you about bonds and all of that, you need to sit down with me in a different session, and I can take you through how you make money through these complicated products that are out there. And you also need probably a larger cash outlay. So I'll go back to what I said earlier. Look at yourself and find out, okay, in terms of cash terms, what do I have? What are my assets?
Oh.
So cash is one of them. Land is another. Your animals are others.
So I want to ask this. I have to stop you for a second. What's an asset?
An asset is something that you own, and it can generate you revenue. It's equivalent, it has a value. Something that you own and it has a value.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's either it can be generating income, or it is just sitting there. Passive, and then, of course, you have the expenses. So I want to list some of those assets that you could have, which are either growing quietly, your land appreciating. You have your goats. Those are your assets.
Okay.
And you're thinking, okay, so for me to grow my wealth, I will add goats. And I'm going to be selling the kids, or their cows, the calves.
Okay. Goats, selling the children.
Yes.
It sounds so awful when I say it like that.
Yes. I'm gonna my vacant land, I'm gonna either lease it out to somebody that's willing to farm, or I'm going to farm it myself and I'm going to sell the produce. That is how you grow from very basic levels.
Okay.
That's how you grow from very basic levels.
So I'm hearing something, and I know we're going to start wrapping up in a minute, but I'm hearing so many good things. So a lot of people I've heard, they'll say I have land, but they're doing nothing with it. I'm hearing you give them some practical steps of what they can be doing with that piece of land that's sitting there. Okay, I hope everyone's listening. And Ruth, I'm going to go to you. Give us like 1 or 2 practical steps that people can do now to grow their money.
Thank you so much. And as Lillian has said, because of the wide demography. So the first thing is to look at what you can be able to do in terms of even your passion, your talent. Can they start earning you money? Because you might not have that big cash outlay to start going to the big things like Lillian is saying of T-bills and all that. Can you be able to monetize a passion, a hobby? Do you have a side hustle? Do you have a small business you can start working on? Is there something that you can start earning extra? Is there a need, a gap in the society, in the place you're living? Is there something small that you can find and fill that gap and start monetizing? That is the first place
Oh, okay.
to start investing.
I'm hearing purpose. I'm hearing passion. Can you monetize it? If we're going to get ready to wrap up, if someone is leaving here today and they don't start budgeting, planning, or building wealth from here, then you know what? It's a lost cause. So a coachable moment, I hope that everyone has heard today that when we're talking about mastering your money, it's mastering the inside as well as the outside. And I hope that all of you have learned that you can start anywhere, no matter if you're listening to this while you're driving an Uber or you're listening to this as you sit in your high-end corporate office. Anyone can master their money and begin to grow wealth. I'm going to have these 2 ladies back when we talk about more intricate pieces of real estate and wealth. But for now, make sure you have joined the conversation. Make sure that you've given your opinion on this. I am Vuyanzi. This is Rise and Shine. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, guests. Thank you for dropping some amazing gems here. I'm going to take them, act like I stole them, and run with them out this door. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Yeah.